Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Happy Friday. Oh, my goodness. I'm Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. Keith, man, I am still tired. The trade deadline, what a fun trade deadline, but I'm still feeling it. I feel like we talked basketball for it felt like 48 hours straight, but man, that was a blast. This was just a fantastic trade deadline, and I'm glad that we got to cover this together, man.
Yeah, me too. It was a lot of fun, especially that the overnight, Wednesday and the Thursday when we were like, should we go live? I don't
It
know.
was
All
like
right,
1
let's
a.m.
do it.
your
Yeah,
time.
yeah. We're like, let's do it. Who knows how many people even tune in? And it was amazing how many people
Yeah.
hung out with us. And then yesterday going live, we went live earlier than we planned. About I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes earlier than planned because there was so much going on live all the way through. I was very thankful that this was not one of those trade deadlines where at 5 o'clock we're still like, oh, this deal was in there, nobody knew
Yeah.
about it. Like I was thankful we were pretty well done about 3:30 or so. There were some deal details that came out and things like that. But yeah, man, it was a lot. 12 trade deadline day deals done total. Let me give you a couple numbers here because I think they're kind of fun. 12 deals total. There were 51 players traded, player draft rights traded. There were 3 team deals, 4 team deals, 9 first round picks were traded, 37 second round picks traded. So just
Wow.
and that was all yesterday. Like
Nine
all
first
one
round. It's
final yesterday.
well, so does Kevin Durant is included in that total. So the 9 first round picks, 4 of them are from the KD trade.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, that's because no deals went final. We had a couple small salary dumps like Dwayne
You're
Dedman
right.
and,
Right.
and Kessler Edwards, but yeah, everything else went final yesterday. So yeah. So there's your kind of numbers as we work through it. Some of those picks are conditional too, so
Mm.
it's like a first that could turn into. There's a Knicks pick, I think, to Josh Hart. That's if it doesn't go, it turns into 4 second round picks, and so those numbers could grow. But yeah, that's a courtesy of our guy Scott over at Spot Track, pulling all those numbers together for us.
Just what a blast of a trade deadline this was. We had big moves, we had little moves, we had moves that really made you stop and think and go, okay, why are they doing this? Like there was so much to dig into in this one. It was a blast. So anybody who is new, because we got a bunch of new subscribers during the trade
Yeah,
deadline. Anybody who's new, first of all, welcome and thank you. I think you're making a wise choice, let me say, in subscribing. But if you're watching the show and you haven't joined our subscribers yet, make sure you do follow us here on the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. Turn on those notifications. We are here mostly 5 days a week, unless there's just nothing going on a particular day. Sometimes we'll take a day here and there, but for the most part, we're here Monday through Friday, breaking down all of the latest NBA news. Then, of course, you can follow us over on the podcast side as well, and you can do both. It's not one or the other.
yeah, do
You can
both,
follow us.
please
Yeah,
do. Yeah,
please do both. You can take us with you if you're planning on traveling during the All-Star break or during spring break coming up or anything. Great way to stay up to date. Make sure you do subscribe over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Keith, let's start with this because we've got a lot of just kind of big picture stuff to talk about. A few trades we're going to dive into and everything. But one of the things that I've been seeing a lot going around is people are saying, wait, how is this suddenly a 4-team trade? We're
yes.
seeing a lot of deals that are getting folded into each other. Let's get into that process. Why does that happen? Why do you see deals that are reported as team A trading with team B somehow loop in 2 other teams and they combine these deals and smash them all together? How does that happen and why?
Yeah, so I'm going to use real examples too. So as we spoke about, 1:30 in the morning, whatever it was, Kevin Durant is being traded to the Phoenix Suns. We knew about that deal for 12-ish hours
Mhm.
before we got news of Jay Crowder is being traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. What happened in that trade was, in the end, the Suns, the Bucks, the Pacers, and the Nets all decided, hey, we don't need to do this as separate transactions. We're going to fold this into one big transaction, and that's how we're going to move people around. And I think that is one of the things that what happens here is there's a rush to get the deals reported, and that's fine, right? Because in the end, nothing fundamentally changed here
Right.
that anyone really cares about, right? KD's still a Sun, Jay Crowder's still a Buck. The Nets have every draft pick under the sun, and The Pacers have a bunch of guys they might just waive. I don't know. But
Second
it's
rounders.
yeah, and a whole bunch of slew of second round picks
Yep.
for renting out the last little bit of their cap space. It's funny. They are like just I'm on a little tangent here, but I want to get this out there just because I think it's funny. They are roughly now like $37,000 under the salary cap. So just think it's
by
kind of
by
funny.
N by NBA comparison, that's like going to fill up your tank and having a 20, and
Yep,
it takes you $19.95 to fill it up. You know, that's
exactly.
the
Yep.
NBA equivalent
Yep.
of that.
Yep. So they're basically right there. So, but anyway, back to that though. So what teams often do, and we see this happen at the draft, we see this at the summertime is, hey, we're all gonna make these moves and they're all agreed to in principle. And then it's or what's the best structure here for everybody involved? Because once you have the main parameters hammered out, then it's about what creates the best trade exceptions, what moves pieces to somewhere with less complications, sometimes more complicated the way it looks like, but sometimes it's just rather than aggregation issues coming into play and things like that. So we get into these spots, and I apologize, I'm very rapidly losing my voice after a lot of talking the last few days.
I was gonna say there's no
But
reason why.
right, yeah, I know. And people like anybody new is like, yeah, Trevor gets to say about 1/10 of the words I say on the show. That's just how I like it. I like to hear my own voice. But so that's what happens with these trades. So that's why we see these, even small ones like Thomas Bryant to the Nuggets turned into a 4-team trade that also
Yep.
involved the Magic, the Clippers, and the Magic and the Clippers with the Lakers and Nuggets. So sometimes you're folding them in to resolve aggregation issues. Sometimes it's to create trade exceptions. Sometimes it's just a better construction to do it all as one big deal. So that's the important thing to note with these. And then in addition to that, when a trade goes down, it's also important to remember teams can break them up in whatever way is most mutually beneficial to them. So if it's, hey, we can use a trade exception versus using salary matching,
Yeah.
they may do that. That allows them to create a bigger trade exception. A good example of that was seems like a fairly inconsequential cap and tax related trade between the Hawks and the Rockets. But it looks like the Hawks used some trade exceptions. That way they could create a bigger trade exception to roll it forward. So that's what happens with a lot of these deals.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking about the Garrison Matthews, Bruno Fernando, Justin Holiday,
Yep.
Frank Kaminsky
Jason
deal. Yeah.
Holiday. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So they come out of that with in the end like a new $6 million trade exception for Justin Holiday, which they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Which could end up mattering. It may not matter at all, but it could end up being something as well. And sometimes this stuff can change a trade a little bit. Like for example, the reporting was the Lakers out of the Thomas Bryant deal were getting second rounders from the Denver Nuggets. Once it became a 4-team deal, suddenly those became Clippers second rounders, which
Yeah.
um, I think I actually prefer that right from the Lakers side because then that
Sure.
gives you even more reason to root against the Clippers if you're a Lakers fan. So like
Well,
great,
it's funny because the Lakers at various points, it was like they were trading picks they didn't even have. When
yeah,
I went back and looked through some of the reporting,
you're like
it's like
wait,
they don't even have those
where
picks.
is
Like,
that coming from?
well, where are they getting these picks from? And that's why, again, we get into it. And this is an insight into the teams are working through while they're feeding information out to the reporters, right? It's like, hey, this deal is done, or sometimes it might even be the player gets told. And I'm not by no means in my reporting this happens, but Rob Pelinka tells Thomas Bryant and his agent, like, hey, you're being traded to Denver. And they're the ones who tell Woj, like Thomas Bryant's being traded to Denver. And then that part of it breaks without the rest of like, hey, but we're gonna fold this into a bigger deal and get some
Right.
picks so
Yeah.
we can move those picks elsewhere and those kind of things. So that's kind of the fun of it. The fun is like the real fun is like the initial, like, oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
then the next fun is like, all right, what are the details and kind of unwinding those things and figuring out all, who, what, went where and everything. And for everybody trying to wonder, like, where are all these picks now? Real GM's draft pick tracker. If you go to Real GM, everybody should have this bookmarked if you're an NBA fan. All you have to do is when you go to realgm.com, you go to GM Laboratory, and then right in the middle, future draft picks. You can see it by team or by year. And then there's pick details on there, but it's the best public
Everybody.
resource you're ever going to find.
Yep. They do a fantastic. I'm there pretty much daily at this
Yeah.
point. So let's just talk because it would take us multiple shows to go through every single trade. because there were so many, which was great. This wasn't like the a dud of a deadline where just
No.
nothing wound up happening, and then we can get through it all in one show. But let's just go big picture, I think, because everybody, I believe, is still probably kind of where you and I are, where our heads are still spinning a little bit, we're a little bit exhausted, but big picture, what are some of your thoughts on the deadline itself? Any particular deals that stood out? Anything that you've changed your mind about since that initial reaction? How are you feeling about some of these deals?
Yeah, I think I in the moment I liked what the Clippers did. I think I like it even more. 24 hours or so later. Here, I really think Eric Gordon's going to be really good for them off the bench. I do wonder to some extent, like, where do you play him when you already have Norman Powell? But that's fine. They'll figure that out, I'm sure. They're going to add some other point guard. We seem to maybe Russell Westbrook. We'll see at some point there. I assume they'll do that.
Yeah, I did radio in Utah yesterday in light of the news and everything, and they were telling me they said, "Are we going to print up Russell Westbrook jerseys?"
Yeah,
I said
no.
no. They said technically, does that mean that we had a Hall of Famer playing for the Jazz this season? I said, sure. We can. I said the same way the Atlanta Hawks had Carmelo Anthony. Yes,
Yes.
you have Russell Westbrook, but he has never. I don't know that he's even going to travel to Utah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he's just gonna get bought out. And the
Yeah.
Clippers do seem like a very likely landing spot for him.
Thank you for jumping in there while I had a little coughing fit.
And no
Um,
worries.
Mason Plumlee going to give the Clippers a
Yes.
really good backup center.
Mhm.
They've really kind of struggled at that spot. And then I think adding Bones Highland is fun, right? That gives them just another guy to kind
One
of
of my
get it and
favorites.
go off the bench. So I really kind of like what they did. Very under the radar. I don't even know if we talked about it beyond a passing mention. I
Mhm.
thought New Orleans getting Josh Richardson was a really good pickup for
It
them.
was I think the timing of it
Yeah,
got
hit it a very
snuck in.
weird
It
time.
was like right
Yep.
after there was a Lakers deal that went down, and so I barely even noticed it, and it got sandwiched between a couple other things. So a lot of
Yeah.
people didn't notice it, but Josh Richardson going to New Orleans, Devontae Graham going
Yep.
to San Antonio, and then you've got 4 seconds going to San Antonio as well. A lot of second rounders getting thrown around this year, but
Yep.
Josh Richardson could be a good get indeed for New Orleans.
Yeah, they needed a little bit more size in their backcourt. Dyson Daniels was playing really well for them, but he's hurt now, and he's a rookie and a very young rookie at that.
Mhm.
So I think getting Josh Richardson that gives them another guy to also play. He can really kind of play the 1, 2, or the three. He'd been playing on ball a lot for San Antonio because it was kind of him and Trey Jones, and that was it on that roster. So I think them getting him is really big because you couldn't play Alvarado with Devontae Graham. That they tried and tried a lot. It was too small of a backcourt, and Devontae Graham couldn't also really play with CJ McCollum. So I think this is a really sneaky good get. They also clear out some long term money that's owed to Devontae Graham, which is important because Zion's contract kicks in next year. They're going to be getting more expensive there in New Orleans. And then the Spurs side of it, I like Devontae Graham as a player, so I don't hate this for
Yeah.
them. Again, it's kind of Trey Jones and not a whole lot else at the
Yeah.
point guard position, so he should help organize them a little bit and gives them a little something. I overall didn't love.
And you get a bunch of seconds.
Yeah, you get a bunch of seconds. I didn't love the Spurs deadline moves. Like Pirtle
Fertile.
for Birch in a first and a couple seconds was fine, but I don't know. It feels like they rented out an awful lot of cap space to kind of I thought they should have done better than what they did. But yeah, that was a trade that looked interesting. I think just the sheer volume of second round picks that got
Yeah.
traded yesterday. Like, I mean, there are kids literally right now, sixth, seventh, and eighth graders that are like, what team am I going to be on when I get to the NBA? Because who owns
Well,
those picks? Like it was
and
all
my
over.
understanding is that may have in some ways hindered some of the other deals that we saw later on in the day. As soon as like it was, oh my gosh, Milwaukee, and I know there were a lot of other things built in, but Milwaukee's parting with 5 second rounders to net Jay Crowder here. I think at that point, suddenly it became that much more difficult to go get like, is Royce O'Neal available? Is any of the other wings that the Nets have? Wing players in general became even more difficult once it was like, oh, okay, 5 second round picks to get or 4 second round picks to get Josh Richardson. It was clear the value of second round picks. Teams were doing everything they could to hang on to first and were more than willing to part with multiple seconds in order to
Yeah.
get guys that they really wanted.
Yeah, I think this is all carryover too from the summer and then several other big deals. Or it became, hey, we can't let four teams have every first round pick. Like we got to
Yeah,
be careful with that. And I think, yeah, it turned into second round picks. And it's funny because on one side you have a bunch of people saying like, see, that shows they don't really matter. Who really cares? But on the second side, they do matter because you can trade a whole bunch of them to get useful
their
players. So
currency.
that's it. They're currency. They do matter for different teams. And if you're San Antonio, like I think they took in 7 new second rounders, like why not? Right? But why not? You might as well get them, pile them up,
Yeah,
and but you don't have to use them all. You can, maybe when they're good again, they're packaging together 2 or 3 of those for a guy down the road and doing it that way. And these picks will just kind of keep moving around. It's that those will be fun to track on the real GM tracker because they
and
do
also
say, yeah, it
like
says like
almost
via,
impossible to track. We're gonna
right?
hit the point where some of these second rounders have touched like 7 or 8 teams by the time they're
And
used.
come all the way back around. We already had a couple of
We
those too.
yeah.
Like Indiana got one of their own back. The Magic got one back. At one point. I can't remember if that was over the summer or when that was. But yeah, those are just kind of funny the way those kind of all come together here. So yeah, I think we're in a spot where that was interesting. The reunion factor of
Oh my
of the
gosh.
trade deadline, like that was just a really funny subplot. I saw this Mark Stein, our buddy over at Substack.
Yeah.
He had. I'll read a quick, list of guys. If I can find it. Here it is. Spencer Dinwiddie, George Hill, Gary Payton II, Jakob Pertl, Russell, D'Angelo Russell, TJ Warren, Eric Gordon, John Wall. There were definitely some others in there that had maybe all kind of returned back to teams that they had
Hmm.
been on before, which is just really, really funny.
I need to. We need to mention this. So the Houston Rockets. John Wall
Yes.
was owed $47 million this season, roughly. They
Yep.
buy him out. He
Yep.
signs for the taxpayer mid level with the Clippers for 6.5 million if we round up. The Clippers trade him to Houston. They're going to waive him.
Yep.
So the Rockets are paying John Wall the agreed upon buyout on that $47 million contract. They paid him on that to go away. And now they're going to pay him on the $6.5 million contract to go away.
Yes.
Does he have to get 2 checks for
I,
each
I would.
contract, or is it?
I don't know. That's a good
And has
question.
has this ever happened before that the same team is paying this one player to who they waived twice on separate contract? Like, has this happened before?
Not that I can remember. And it is funny because some people said, how is this allowed? Well,
Yeah.
why it's allowed is they didn't trade for him and then immediately waive him. They already had John Wall because remember he spent a whole year on that team not playing at all. So when you
Mhm.
waive a guy, yeah, you can reacquire him. That happens pretty regularly. Like this, that is very, very rare. What is funny is there was some talk way back over the summertime when it was like they're gonna buy him out and release him. There was talk of them stretching his contract. At
Oh
that
yeah.
point, they would not have been able to bring him back because if you stretch a contract, you can't bring a guy back until the end of whatever the original contract was. You're not
Oh.
allowed to reacquire him at any point during that stretch. So that would have been kind of funny to see that play out. So, but they didn't. So yeah, remember I'm going to take us back to the summertime.
Hmm.
We had that Rockets Thunder trade where all 8 players ended up being waived in the end. I think there's a good chance Houston waives all 4 guys they got yesterday at the trade deadline
I
because
agree.
none of those guys really mean much. They're definitely waiving Wall. We know that, but they
Hmm.
don't really have any need for Danny Green, Justin Holiday,
I,
and Frank Kaminsky either.
there
So,
was a report this morning saying Danny Green will not make his Rockets debut today, and I was like, is he ever going to make his
ever,
Rockets
yeah,
debut? Is that going to
probably not.
happen?
I'd be very, very surprised if because none of those guys too have money into next year either. That can sometimes be why you might keep a guy and then just
Yeah.
put him on your bench and hey, then we could use him in a trade down the line or whatever. But yeah, that was kind of funny the whole John Wall of it all, I guess. And we'll see. My guess I think it was Andy Bailey on Twitter said what's the over under on John Wall games played or something. And I said whatever he plays the rest of this season, that's probably it. Like I
Yeah,
think he's probably done.
he's
He
done.
catches on somewhere, and then that's probably it for his career. Yeah, unfortunately, right? It's it's unfortunate that when healthy, we lost a couple years of John Wall because the Rockets didn't want to play him, but it's just kind of how it goes sometimes at the end.
Man, John Wall and Kemba Walker.
Yeah, dude.
Man,
Maybe Russ too.
yeah, and
Quite possible.
potentially.
We'll
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
see.
see what happens with him. I think a lot is going to depend on how he fits in with wherever it is that he lands. Um, what what about like some kind of under the radar like moves that you're looking at now that you're saying, well, you know what, that might be a little bit better than we thought. Like, what do you think about what Utah did at the deadline here? I've been getting a lot of questions about that. Did Utah do well? Like we heard, maybe they were going to try to get multiple firsts for these guys, but then I also
Mhm.
saw a spin coming out of Utah saying like the first they got from the Lakers was maybe the most valuable asset that's not like Kevin Durant or something like that that got moved in terms of picks because it's only top 4 protected. Um, do you like what the Jazz did, or are you underwhelmed? How do you feel about what they did?
Um, I thought I don't know. I thought they should have done a little bit better than one
Yeah.
protected first round pick for Conley, Vanderbilt, and Beasley. It just felt like there should have been more that they could have gotten. So that part, I don't feel really great about with that. I'm not gonna go crazy about it.
No.
I think it's in general it's more or less fine. But I do, there's so much posturing out there of we can get more for these guys and more and more
Yep.
and more. And then you just kind of didn't. So that part I am a little like one protected first. Like I don't understand why they gave picks to Minnesota. Like that seems
That's the
weird.
the confused part. Like why are
Yeah,
they kicking in second round picks to
yeah.
Minnesota to
It's
flip?
It's funny,
Because
so many people are like, "Well, maybe Danny Ainge felt bad, after the Rudy Gobert trade." Danny Ainge
right.
does not feel bad. Like, I don't if
Dan-
anything, he would have been like,
Danny Ainge
"More,
does not feel.
more." Yeah, yeah, more blood from that stone, please, right? So yeah, it's not there was no feeling bad with that. So yeah, I'm underwhelmed, I guess, is the best way to put it.
It was
I'm not gonna kill him, but I'm a little underwhelmed.
It was interesting because it was initially a straight up Lakers Jazz deal, and then the Lakers went out and got Minnesota to be involved. And so it was interesting to see that the Jazz were the team to kick second rounders to Minnesota in the deal. Now maybe those were initially going to go to the Lakers or something. I don't know, but just it was interesting the way that whole thing broke down. I was surprised that it worked out the way that it did. But again, Utah. Look, if that winds up being the fifth pick in the 2027 draft, I think they'll be feeling pretty good about that.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Then you don't really care at all.
Right.
I want to say something too because it's very related to that trade
Hmm.
specifically. As someone who grew up in the Boston area, where the number one guarantee of all things Boston sports was star player leaves town, the newspapers and the radio kill him on
Yeah.
the way out the door. I've never understood that. I've never really liked it. I'm not saying you got to throw a party for the guy,
Same.
but just
Same.
move on. Some of the reporting around the Russell Westbrook stuff,
Yep.
like I don't blame his wife for being like, "That's why." Just let it
Yeah.
go. Like who needs to? It's fine if you want to tell the story of things weren't going well in the locker room, and that's why the
Yeah.
Lakers had decided to move on.
But the
Because
vampire
that's
thing, like,
part of
come
it.
on.
Yeah, that part. Like I didn't like that. There's some stuff coming out about D'Angelo Russell now that's
Mhm.
a little
About him
like
about him and
you know
Gobert. I saw that
yeah,
too coming out.
and you know,
It's
and I
weird.
think we get it, right? The Wolves obviously they were ready to move on from him, right? You
Yep.
don't make this trade if you weren't. And I do get the idea of like, and I even wrote this, like, just bring Mike Conley in. He's gonna be your stabilizer, right? Like he's
Yeah.
just gonna play and do his kind of thing and just be there for you. But yeah, I don't like this part of the trade deadline where it becomes I like the inside stories of like this is how the Kevin Durant trade went down. Like
Yes.
that stuff
Yep.
is great. I'll eat that stuff up all day. I've got, we were
Yeah.
talking about it. We both get some traveling coming up and stuff to do this weekend. I've got podcasts queued up galore to
Yeah.
like spend time with. But I don't like the negative. Yeah, they had to get this guy out of here because he's awful. Like that's just a part I don't like. And again, I'm saying this as someone who grew up somewhere where that's all they ever did. primarily was on the Red Sox side. Like no one could ever leave the Red Sox without, basically being like, yeah, they were the worst person ever, and they kicked four small children in the face on the way out the
He
door. Like,
punched a puppy.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like that's the kind of stuff that was like, come on, what are we doing here? So I don't know that I just, it's a little ranty, but I just wanted to put that out there because I didn't like some of the coverage that's come out in the last couple of days.
No, I agree with that, particularly with that deal too. Like it wasn't where you're sitting there scratching your head and trying to figure out why a team did this, and then it's
Yeah,
filling that void, right? It's
yeah.
you look at it, you go, hey, but like on the basketball court, this makes a lot of sense. Like
Hmm.
there doesn't need to be that added explanation. It would be different if it was, oh my gosh, Anthony Davis got traded for John Collins or something, right? And then you're
Hmm.
going, well, why John Collins isn't as good as Anthony did? Why would they do that? And then okay, hey, fill that void.
Sure.
It's because of these things that were happening. No, these are trades where you can just say, hey, clearly this makes sense for the teams on the basketball court. Everybody knows what's going on here. You don't need to put this stuff out here just bashing the player afterwards. It doesn't do any good for anybody, and it can be damaging, particularly when you've got kids involved,
Yeah.
as Russ's wife Nina was talking about. Like it breaks your heart hearing that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I have to explain to my kids that their dad's not a vampire. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that shouldn't be kind of how it goes. That said, some of the other interesting reporting that's come out: Grizzlies and Pacers reportedly offered 3 first-round picks for OG Anunoby.
Hmm.
So, I'd kind of beat up on the Grizzlies a little bit, but it sounds like they tried. They offered everything for Kevin Durant, as one of the reports is out there. I think Zach Lowe had that they offered every pick they could, plus swaps, plus players and everything, and couldn't get there. It sounds like they kept Desmond Bain and Jaren Jackson Jr. off the table, which you probably, you're not getting it done if you didn't give up at least one of them
Yeah.
with that. So I mean, but it's at least Memphis was trying to do the kind of consolidation trade and go make something happen. So and Luke Kennard's going to help them. That's a sneaky addition that I think a lot of
Hmm.
people are kind of skipping over there, but I think he will help them for sure. He's going to be a pretty nice player coming off their bench. They needed another shooter just to help open things up for John Morant and the others there. So I think that's good stuff. That's also right. We talked about you had to get some cover for Desmond Bain because he's
Yes.
openly said like I'm dealing with the foot thing until I get off my feet in the summertime. So Kennard gives him a little bit of that. Not that he's a bastion of health himself. He tends
Yeah,
to
no.
miss time too. So I kind of those are the kind of fun details that I find interesting the rest of the way. The Nets were apparently offered 4 first round picks for Mikal Bridges.
Do you buy so not
That
we've
one I'm
said
a
it a bunch of times,
little, yeah,
not all first round picks are created equal.
correct.
So
Yeah.
do you buy that there
Was
is
that a Knicks type offer?
people immediately jump to for
Yeah.
unprotected first. I don't
Yeah.
know that it was really for unprotected first,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. My guess it was probably more like, hey, we'll give you 2 good firsts, and then here's a couple kind of sort of crappy protected ones that maybe they'll convey, maybe they won't. We'll see with that.
Yeah.
We did have an actual transaction today. Just very quickly, just so I don't forget it. Stanley Umude signed a 10-day with the Pistons to fill their open roster spot there. There was a report. I don't know if you saw this one. They may start James Wiseman. Okay, sure.
Oh,
Why not?
I
You
didn't
know,
know that.
my thing
Okay.
is let Wiseman, Jalen Duran, Isaiah Stewart, and when he's back healthy, which should maybe be soon, Marvin Bagley, lock those 4 dudes in a steel cage and let's go. Steel
Yeah.
cage style, fight it out, and let the last 2 standing get all the minutes, and off we go.
We're going to Thunderdome here. Is that
Yeah,
that's
let's
what this
go.
is?
Right, Detroit. I mean, come on, that's 8 Mile steel mills. I don't know whatever Eminem was working in metal fabrication shop in that movie.
Yeah.
So B
Yeah,
Rabbit, Peyton Pritchard.
you
So
only get you get one chance, one opportunity, right? So they give
Mom
them the one chance.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, that's right. Keith, one year, very very early in this, in me covering the NBA, it was draft night, and for some reason that song was stuck in my head, and so I put out lyrics to that. I put it out on Twitter. Unfortunately, lyrics to that song incorporating all of the draftees that year, like Nikola Jokic made an appearance, and
Nice.
yeah, it was It was interesting. It was but
I'm
that
gonna
so
go
that
find
song,
that.
I always think of that, and I always think back, and I'm like, "I shouldn't have that was so dumb."
Do you remember in the early days of the show, I would before we you'd hit record, like I was always singing and I'm like rapping lyrics to you, and you're like, one of these days I'm not gonna hit record and not
Yeah.
tell you, and then it's just gonna be that's how we open the show. So yeah,
We'll have to do that for, like, a special okay, like,
right
we hit the 50,000 subscriber mark or something like
there it
that.
is. Yeah,
We'll have to do
yeah,
something like
that's
that.
yeah. I'll come up with a whole rap game. My daughter will immediately disown me.
Oh, you
She
should make that should be it. It should be she has to do it with you.
Oh my god, that'll never happen. Well, I mean, maybe 10 years from now, but she's full on into that. She's way too cool
Too
for that.
cool.
She already doesn't like. So it's funny. Your daughter's probably a little young for this. Mine's because she's enough older. She credibility, street cred, like
Yeah.
that's important, right? And so she likes to tell the boys when they start talking sports and stuff. She's like, "Yeah, my dad, covers the NBA." And they're like, "Oh, really? He has a podcast, so like 10 people listen." And then she's like, "No, like look him up." And then they're like, "Oh my gosh," and they get kind of excited. And then like they'll start like she feels good about that. But then she's like, "But then sometimes you talk about me and I don't like it. So can you not?" So sorry, bud.
And now here we are talking about her.
But I am rocking the Foundation Academy Lions hat. Shout out Foundation Academy Lions, girls varsity soccer,
There you
first
go.
regional semifinal appearance tonight in school history. So we're super
Get
proud
it
of them
done.
that they're going for it. So we're super duper proud of them that they've made it this far.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, best of
Yeah,
luck to the team tonight.
appreciate it.
Let's see what they do there.
Yes, this is a
Let's
basketball show, presumably.
at some point.
I wanted to
We're
hit
still
two
a
more.
little punchy.
Yeah, can I hit two more stories? Then we're gonna get into
Yeah, yeah.
buyout stuff.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it.
Um, Gary Payton, second, didn't really want to be in Portland. Okay, little odd for a guy who just signed there.
He did get
Um,
a lot of money to go there,
he
but
did, but a little weird, right? That
sure.
it went south that quickly. With him, I
Have you
gotta.
been to Portland?
I like Portland. I've only been
I
once,
like
but
Portland too, but it also it's a very like I could see where somebody could go there
fair.
and just be like, well, it's not for me, right? It's a very distinct city,
That's fair.
you know.
Um, it just I don't know that something I want to know more with that story. Like, well, what happened to cause that? And then Arturas Karnisovich from the Bulls general manager, we didn't do anything at the trade deadline because we like the guys we have, and then hinted at the East is pretty wide open. We feel good about it now. It ain't wide open to you, so like it's like that's okay. The playing tournament,
Wow.
maybe. But like you're not in contention. And then he said we kept Nikola Vucevic because we like him. Like, I mean, I would hope, right? You traded a
You trade a
pretty
lot
nice
for him.
trade package to get him, but uh, anytime you say that, now then immediately makes me think like, are you going to make a massive mistake this summer with a contract for him? Like, you got to be super careful. And Vuce has played better and playing well down the stretch here, but just let's be smart, Portland.
Yeah.
Like, let's not or Chicago. I'm kind of lumping now Chicago, Portland, Sacramento, all these teams that didn't really do much. I'm at the deadline. I'm a little frustrated with some of them, but it's like, it is what it is. I'm
Yeah.
very varying levels of frustration. But
All right, let's jump over and I think you're right, but at the same I feel weird complaining about teams who didn't do anything when we had so much happen.
yeah, I guess like for me, like if you're Sacramento, you're so dang close to finally breaking through.
Yeah.
You could have done something. They've got like 20 million in non-rotation players in salary, just kind of sitting every night that you could have piled up and gone and made a trade. Like, I don't know. It's like I want it so badly for them to just finally get there. And like,
Yeah.
I don't want them to be in the play-in, like be in the actual playoffs themselves. It'd be cool as heck if they were hosting a first round playoff series, like
Oh,
had
it'd be
home court
crazy.
advantage, which they do today. Like that'd be a lot of fun for them. So, and then like I do see it, I've seen a lot of people beating up on Cleveland. I don't know, Cleveland did their work over the summer, right? So I'm
Yeah.
not gonna, and they're fine. They're, probably the fourth best team in the East right now.
And I wouldn't count them out either. I think they've got a puncher's
No,
chance
yeah,
against just about anybody there. All right, let's talk about the buyout market because now that's
yeah,
what we're going to shift to, and what I've already seen a lot of fans shifting to
yeah.
is okay.
At
Who's
3:01 p.m. Eastern.
immediately?
Yeah. Yep.
immediately. Well, who's getting bought out? Who can we pick up? And I guess my caution has always been this: like, as much as we will make a lot of the buyout market, and we're going to talk a lot about it, and there's plenty of intrigue into it. Who could suddenly become available? And a lot of times it's big names, but I'd just be cautious in terms of looking at a guy and saying this guy is going to put us over the top.
Yeah.
More often than not, they don't. There's a reason why a player is getting bought out. Sometimes it is big names, but they're not the guy that they used to be, and that's why the buyout is happening. Now, sometimes there are real impact players that
Sure.
come out there. So I'm not trying to be a rain cloud here on the entire buyout market. Just caution to fans who tend to get super super excited. Just usually you want to pump the brakes a little bit, try to have realistic expectations, and then if it turns out they're a great addition, then fantastic. Go ahead and celebrate and take that victory lap.
Yeah, and I'm not picking on Lakers fans with this. Told you I'm losing my voice. I apologize.
Well, Lakers fans got spoiled with Markieff Morris. That's
Correct.
that's a big part of that. Markieff Morris was one of the best buyout players ever. I mean, he started a
Yeah.
playoff series and helped win a championship. Like
But
that
they've
is
also
very much
got
the outlier.
they got very fired up. Like, we got Andre Drummond.
Yeah,
Okay. And
yeah,
he couldn't play for you at all. So like they're most of the guys don't go the Markeith Morris way, which was your
yes,
point, right? Like so
yep,
that's where
exactly.
just those are examples. Like Boston fans, I mean, it's been 15 years. They're like, but well, what about PJ Brown? Okay, so that was cool. He was awesome. 15 years ago, he helped swing a couple playoff series and win a title. Like, fully get it, but it's like that was 15 years ago. That said, this is coming from, I love to say at this time of year, he's more name than game because that's generally how these go. I do think it's changing just slightly because I
Mhm.
think players have gotten more reasonable in, hey, I'll give enough money back to get free. That guys shake free that can actually still kind of play. And teams have got more willing to say, all right, we'll let you go because they're not, well, we got to hang on to you because maybe we could do a sign and trade.
Right.
That said, so here are some of the more popular names we've heard on the guard side: Russell Westbrook, obviously, Reggie Jackson. I'm missing one. John Wall.
Yep,
Those
John
are
Wall.
three point guards that presumably will be out there on the wing market. Will Barton, Justin Holiday, Danny Green. Those are all guys that are expected to potentially come available via buyout
Terrence
here.
Ross, would he be in that mix?
Yep,
No.
Terrence Ross is definitely one of them. A couple people have hit me up, and I think they're just not paying attention. People have asked, "What about Otto Porter?" And I think people
No,
pull up
playing.
like basketball references like player page, which is awesome, but then they don't look any further. Like, oh well, he doesn't play, so he must be available. He's hurt. He's out for the
Yeah,
season. That's why he's not
right.
playing. Couple other names like we talked a couple of the other Rockets guys, so maybe Frank Kaminsky, Justin Holiday, in that mix. On the Spurs, I don't think Kem Birch will get shaken free. That's not going to happen. A lot of people are asking about Rashawn Holmes. There's
Yes.
too much money
But
owed, I think,
but yeah, and he's
for
got
him.
another year on his deal. Typically, if you want to find a buyout candidate, you look for a guy who's on an expiring deal this year. That's
Expiring
that's
deal,
typical.
semi-expiring deal, or it's one of those deals where it's really set up to it's small enough. Like Kem Birch, that could maybe make sense, right? Because you could get out of it with very little owed to him. There was a rumor, I don't know where it came from or if it was just speculation. Gordon Hayward, like I would be stunned.
Ooh, with another year left on his deal?
Yeah, another year,
See,
$30 million.
here's and
dollars.
here's why. This is the problem. Like when we look at Rashawn Holmes, we look at Gordon Hayward, got another 30 million next year. You've got Rashawn Holmes. I want to say he's like what 10 million, something like that off the top of my head next year. The reason why these guys aren't going to get moved, it's not so much that oh my Sacramento is no, we can't lose Rashawn Holmes, or the Hornets are saying, oh, we cannot lose Gordon Hayward no matter what. No, it's not that. What it is if you go into the summer and let's say you waive the guy right now, and then in the summer, a trade opportunity comes along where you could have used that guy's salary in that deal,
Yep.
you no longer have access to it. It's not, you're paying him the money no matter what. The only thing you do by waiving him now, unless he's willing to give back a significant amount, is you're cannibalizing your own ability to potentially make other moves during the summer. That's why guys with 2 year deals typically aren't going to. A guy who's on an expiring contract, whatever his contract expires, you're not going to be able to put him in any trades in the summer anyway.
Yeah, and if you know for certain, say the Jazz with Russell Westbrook, we're not doing a sign and trade. No one's doing a sign
Yes.
and trade for Russ, so just set them free, let them move on. Often, too, a buyout is done as a favor to the player, and more importantly, the player's agent and their
Yeah.
agency. Because hey, next time around when we want a guy, like give us a look, or hey, we want to bring player X in for draft workout. Remember when we bought out your guy and didn't have to do that?
Yeah.
And you hit the nail on the head with the Hayward thing. Is yeah, you can use them in trade. Like you're probably not going to do now. Yeah, if Gordon Hayward came back and said, "I'll give you back all of next year's salary," yeah,
Done.
then it's probably
Yeah.
done, right? Because that's a whole different story. But he's not going to do that. And here's the other thing: nor should he. I never, ever, ever expect a player to give up a single dime of what they've signed for and what they're owed. On the flip side, then I don't expect the team to waive you just to waive you for being a nice guy about it. Like it's
Yeah.
some of these guys are going to get like John Wall probably not giving a dime back to the Rockets, right? Like that's just get him out of there. Reggie Jackson probably not going to give much back, if anything, to the Charlotte Hornets. Just get him out of there and move him along. So I think those are the things that get missed a little bit here with this. I wrote a very I'm going to pat myself on the back here because it's doing really well for us at Spot Track. So if anybody wants, you can look at my timeline. I wrote a piece all about the buyout market and potential guys. There's a lot of guys I put in that piece that then I think, unfortunately, just the way things go in this world of aggregation, people miss. But like I had Kevin Love on the list just because he's not playing for the
Mm-hmm.
Cavs. But I explained in there probably not happening, right? Because they don't want to get caught without a big man and those kind of things. Will Barton, I think I mentioned him already. He's probably going to be free here in the next day or so. Patrick Beverly, the Magic in their own press release even
They're
said
not asking him to show up.
will not be required to report, which was kind of funny. That's how that went down. So these are the kind of guys you're looking at. Maybe Damian Jones, right? The Jazz could,
Yep.
even though he does have that player option. Just on that
But
too.
it's a veteran minimum. So
Exactly. And on that thing, just to close that out, because people have asked, like, what happens if a guy's an option? If it's a player option and they're waived, it's assumed that it's picked up, unless there was a pre-standing agreement that they were going to decline it. It's generally assumed it gets picked up, player gets that money. If it's a team option, then it's like they decline the team option and waive them. So,
yep.
So there we are with this. Yeah, I think that's it. I had on the bio market.
Okay. Yeah, that's that. I'm good with that. Let's finish things off with the All-Star replacements,
Yeah.
which came out today. Obviously, there's a number of players who are going to be missing the All-Star game due to injury, and so now we've got some replacements that have been named. I know I'm spacing on all of the names, but I know we had
I got him. I got him.
we
You
had
ready?
De'Aaron Fox was one of them. We
Yep.
had Pascal Siakam and Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, there you go. You got
Okay.
it.
I got them.
And,
My brain is not working at 100% right now. That's for sure.
and those guys are replacing Stephen Curry, Zion Williamson, and Kevin Durant, who are all officially out of the All Star game. A couple people asked, like, are they still All Stars? 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're also All Stars. Nothing changes with that part of it. They they might be there, might not be. I don't know. I sometimes guys are content to just not go. They,
Yeah.
especially if they've been there, done that a million times. And
Yeah.
then other guys, they love it, right? They love the festivity and they want to be there to hang out and do all the stuff with that. So yeah, Edwards, Siakam, and Fox, all very worthy players. I
Mhm.
thought James Harden might sneak in there. A lot of people asking, do they have to change Kyrie Irving to the West? The NBA already decided once the
Doesn't
teams are
matter.
named, that doesn't matter because it doesn't matter for the game anyway. So, so we'll go with that, on that front. And then All-Star starters, though, guys who were elevated into the All-Star starting. Let me get there and find that. Were where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I'm struggling to find it. It was
Oh,
Laurie
it was
Markkinen as one of them.
Ja
Joel
Morant
Embiid
was the other
and
one
John
that went
Morant.
into the starting
Yes.
lineup. Yeah.
Yeah, Joel Embiid, Laurie Markkinen, and John Morant. So Morant and Embiid, no brainers. Markkinen, that's let's throw a bone to the Utah fans who are hosting the All Star game and let them have have some fun with this. So
I got asked. I was on the radio in Utah yesterday, and I got asked, "Are players excited to come to Utah for the All Star game? What are they thinking about it being in Salt Lake City?" I had to say, I know a lot of guys are wishing it was someplace warmer. Um,
yes,
but I was trying to be nice at the same time. But I mean, the All Star game. But I'm honestly a little bit jealous though. Salt Lake City gets this because this is going to be the first year that it's schoolyard style, picking teams right out there on the court, and that's going to be awesome.
Yes, that part is going to be amazing. Like that
Yeah,
that is going to be must watch TV, and see who the the last fat kid standing is that doesn't get picked by anybody and just has to walk over to the other team. Like, okay, here I come.
hang his head
You
and go.
know, it was funny. I loved this was years ago. It was when Al Horford, maybe first, second year with Boston. It was one of the early years of the All-Star draft thing. They said, are you worried about getting picked last? And he gave the best possible answer. He goes, no, because the last All-Star picked is still an All-Star,
Yep.
which is, I think that's exactly what we think. But that said, there's going to be hurt feelings, and there's going to be guys who
Hmm.
are angry. Like, these guys are not, they are petty, like petty, petty, petty. So I'm pretty excited to see, how that all comes together and goes down. I think that's going to be absolutely, must watch TV and a lot of fun. No news on Jaylen Brown. A couple people, were wondering about that. I know, and I tweeted about it. He has a facial fracture. There was thought he might just be out through the All-Star break, but nothing yet.
Posted something about
So
wearing a mask.
yeah, yep. So we'll see what happens with that. If he comes back all masked up and ready to go. So yeah, we'll see what that looks like with him there. So yeah, we're gonna have some fun with this for certain. Okay, so we get a week left till we're there, till we're in the All-Star break. So that'll be
That's
also
right.
be fun and welcome. And I can tell you, I'm looking forward to sleeping in a few days and
Yeah.
getting to bed at a reasonable hour a few nights this week. Maybe I might read a book. You can't see them. Well, you kind of catch the very corner of them. The stack of books over here that I want to catch up on. One is the Lakers book, Three Ring Circus by Jeff
Oh
Perlman.
yeah, that's a good one.
Um, yeah, I'm really excited to read that. I didn't have a chance to get into that one over the summertime. So I've got another one called The Cap, which is all about the history of the NBA salary cap and
Oh,
how it came to be. So I'm
cool.
excited. I've only read parts of that one. So yeah, but that's all pipe dreams. I'll probably end up, rewatching like the West Wing and Marvel movies instead. But that's fine too.
Keith, we've been so busy that I'm like a quarter of the way through Wakanda Forever, and I started it like a week ago and have not had a moment to go finish it. So I'm looking forward to getting to do that finally.
Yeah, I was all fired up to go and watch Ant-Man and the
Yep.
Wasp: Quantum Mania. And we actually have a soccer tournament that weekend, so I'm probably not going to be able to go until maybe that Monday. We'll see. That Monday, I believe it's President's Day, I think. So there's no school, so I think I'll be in the theater on Monday. So no spoilers, please, for anybody
Yeah,
out there. Like we keep this all spoiler free. But yeah.
absolutely.
All right, I think we've strayed far enough away from basketball that it's time to say goodbye for the week.
Yes, yes, it is. Let's head off for the weekend. Thank you again, everybody who followed us during all of the NBA trade deadline craziness. This was a
Incredible.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
We appreciate everybody, all the new subscribers coming in. Welcome, and again, thank you guys. We are exhausted, hoping hopefully to rest up a little bit over the weekend, and then we'll be coming back Monday with some fresh stuff, unless anything crazy happens over the weekend. But I think we're gonna get a quiet weekend as far as all that goes. So.
Yeah, it might be buyout stuff. Well, if there is, we'll catch up on Monday.
Yep. Yeah, let's do that. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you do subscribe to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. Follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a fantastic weekend. See ya and stay safe.